Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. It's time to start working with future time, or more precisely with different ways, different tenses in which we can express future time in English. Let me somehow mention that in English we don't have a proper future tense. En inglés no tenemos un tiempo futuro tal y como tendríamos en español, donde yo puedo decir yo bailo, yo bailé o yo bailaba o yo bailaré, un presente, pasado y un futuro respectivamente. En inglés no hay manera posible de añadir ese sufijo al verbo y cambiar el tiempo, sino que vamos a crear los futuros a través de diferentes tiempos verbales o lo más común a través de la palabra will, que actuaría como una especie de verbo modal. En fin, the thing is, in English we have different ways to express future, and that is exactly what we are going to start covering in this first video. In this slide, you'll see the different tenses or the different ways in which we can express future time in English. First of all, in this video, we will be covering present simple with a future value. Apart from it, the most well-known type of future, also known as future simple, is built by means of will or want in the negative and then the infinitive. Something similar happens with be going to. The reason why I say be plus a star is because we need to always conjugate that be, that form of the verb to be, then going to plus the infinitive. We also have present continuous. It's also a way to express future time in English. So using once again the verb to be plus ing and always a future time adverb, let's say a time adverb that refers to the future. And in this video, I'll cover from 1 to 4, but in future videos, I'll explain the future continuous, that it's also a quite common and well-known construction in English, as well as the future perfect, that it's also quite common, but a bit more complex. So let's get the ball rolling, and first we need to start working with present simple, as I mentioned before, with a future value. Why do I mention that? Well, basically because the present simple is going to maintain the same structure as the one we learned at the very beginning of the course, but it's going to carry somehow a future value. Let's see this. Great, so when do we use present simple tense? Well, we use it to talk about timetable or scheduled events. What do I mean by timetable? Well, fixed timetable, horarios fijos, que no puedo cambiar. Let me somehow refresh the structure of present simple. Ya sabéis que el presente simple se utiliza con el verbo como tal, o añadimos la S si es la tercera persona en singular. En caso de ser negativa, don't o doesn't más el verbo. Este verbo no se ve afectado por la S, ya que de alguna manera lo llevaría el doesn't, y lo mismo ocurre en la pregunta. Siempre tenemos esa inversión. El auxiliar aparecería delante, do o does, después el sujeto y después el verbo. Dicho esto, keep that structure in mind, bear it in mind, because it's the same structure. The only thing, as you're going to notice in the following examples, is that we are talking about a timetable, something that hasn't happened yet. For instance, the school opens at 8:10. Si yo te veo esperando en la puerta del instituto a las 7:30, te digo, oye bonito, es que el colegio empieza a las 8:10. Entonces hablamos de un horario fijo, porque es así la hora siempre, y no ha empezado todavía. De ahí esa relación de alguna manera con el futuro. We use it in the same way in Spanish. Imagine that we want to go to Madrid, to the city center, and we just look at this kind of sign that we have in the train station, and we have something like the train leaves at 5. El tren se va a las 5, ¿vale? Pero es que a lo mejor son las 4:30, ¿vale? Ahí está mi relación con el futuro y ese horario fijo. And the same happens if I'm at the bus stop, imagine, and there's a woman who comes and asks me what time does the bus arrive. I can say something like the bus arrives in 5 minutes. So as you can see here, this is used for timetables, as we do in Spanish. If you translate all of these sentences into Spanish, you'll notice that we also use the present tense. El bus llega en 5 minutos, el tren se va a las 5 y el colegio abre a las 8:10. Son horarios súper fijos. No os volváis locos con este tiempo, ya que simplemente aparece en este tipo de situaciones. El horario de una tienda, el horario de un vuelo, cuando llega un tren, cuando llega un avión, lo que sea. Entonces tampoco os volváis muy locos porque no suele estar muy presentes. Sin embargo, de aquí en adelante os recomiendo que prestéis atención porque estos sí que son mucho más importantes. In fact, if we move on, we are going to start working with future simple. This tense is a well-known tense that we basically use by means of will, or in the negative, will, not, or won't, plus the infinitive. So let's start working with this one. So, will. Let me show you first the structure of future simple. Quite simple. Let's say basically what we use is that we take will or won't in the negative. It is obviously possible to say will not, and then we combine it with the infinitive, with the verb form of the verb. Now, when do we use will? When do we use future simple? Well, let me tell you that we use it in three main cases. First of all, we use it for predictions with a crystal ball. What do I mean with a crystal ball? That these are predictions that are not likely to happen. I'm not sure that this is going to happen because I'm talking about a very far away future. Hablo de un futuro tan lejano que mi posibilidad de acertar es demasiado baja, ya que, I don't know, if I go to a fortune teller and he or she tells me something like, you will have 4 children. Bueno, de aquí a que tenga hijos, vete tú a saber, ¿vale? ¿Cuántos tengo? Entonces es de alguna manera esa predicción que no sé qué va a pasar. Tendrás 4 hijos. Es un poco parecido a español de alguna manera, no es muy seguro que eso se cumpla. Or if I say something like, cars will disappear in 2050. Who knows what's going to happen in 2050? No one, okay? So, as a way to somehow directly choose will, we can pay attention to these clues that, as you can see, are clues that refer to a faraway future. So, in the future, in 2050, things like maybe, perhaps, quizás. ¿Qué clase de seguridad hay en algo que tú dices con maybe, whatever, nine, ok? Or I think it will rain. Vale, pues si es lo que tú piensas, no me voy a llevar paraguas porque es que no te creo. Hay muy pocas probabilidades de que eso se cumpla. And the same happens with probably, possibly, likely, or I'm sure, I hope, and so on and so forth. In all those cases, with all those clues, we are directly going to use will. Then, we are also going to use will for instant decisions, things that I haven't planned beforehand, cosas que no he podido planear de antemano. For instance, if I'm in a bar and I ask for another beer, I say the waiter or the waitress something like, I'd like another beer. The waitress or the waiter is going to say something like, I'll bring it, te la traigo. Be careful because in Spanish we don't translate it in the same way. En español no lo traducimos de la misma manera, pero en inglés ese tipo de decisiones instantáneas que no piensas, que no planeas y que por ello normalmente aparecen con una exclamación, también nos valdría un poquito de pista de cara al examen, pues siempre se aparecen con will. Imagine that, I don't know, you see me and I'm carrying like a load of bags. The first thing that you're going to say, because you are such a lovely student, is I will help you. I'll help you. Or, I don't know, if you're cold in class and you tell me something like, oh, teacher, it's pretty cold here. I would say something like, okay, no worries, I'll close the window. Cierro la ventana. En español, insisto, no se traduce de esta manera, pero en inglés sí. And finally, apart from using will for predictions with a crystal ball, for instant decisions, we also use it for promises or offers. Me ofrezco a hacer algo, que sería un poco parecido quizás a los ejemplos de instant decision, but also for promises. Something like, I don't know, if you tell me a secret, I could say something like, no worries, I won't reveal your secret. No revelaré tu secreto. Que bueno, que luego se puede truncar todo y que por supuesto lo podría revelar, pero de alguna manera es una promesa. So these are the three main uses of future simple, or more precisely will. Let me now move on and let's start talking about be going to. As I mentioned in one of the first slides, we are always going to conjugate be. That's why I inserted with a star, so that you always remember that we need to say am going to, is going to, or are going to. Great, so as I was saying, this is the structure. After going to, we are going to insert the infinitive, okay? So remember that it's compulsory to conjugate the verb to be. Es obligatorio conjugar el verbo to be y es más. Muchas veces en los ejercicios que nos encontramos nos ponen completa con will, going to y present continuous. Imagine. Por mucho que en el examen o por mucho que en los ejercicios que hagamos, ¿vale?, nos encontremos que tenemos que completar con going to, no se nos puede nunca olvidar el verbo to be, ya que si no lo ponemos, la oración está incompleta y además es incorrecta. Okay? There you have the structure. If you want to negate it, what we do is that we negate the verb to be, and if we want to create a question, we front somehow the verb to be. We place it at the beginning, okay, and then the rest of the structure. Now, when do we use the be going to plus infinitive structure? In Spanish, this won't be lloverá, sino va a llover. Y es que el primero de los usos del be going to is also for predictions, but for prediction based on evidences, not based on my crystal ball. Es decir, no están basadas en mi bola de cristal y por tanto no se van a cumplir, sino que en este caso hay una evidencia. Con lo cual, ese tipo de predicciones son mucho más seguras y a su vez es mucho más probable que se cumplan. For instance, if I tell you something like, oh, look at that grey cloud, it is going to rain. There's an evidence. Look at that grey cloud. Si veo una pedazo de nube ahí negra, jolín, pues esa es mi evidencia, entonces es bastante probable que llueva. Y por tanto diría, mira, esa nube va a llover y no lloverá, como en el tiempo anterior, donde la probabilidad de que se cumpla es muy baja. ¿Vale? Entonces, de cara al examen, nos tendrían que mostrar una evidencia para yo poder decir, uy, esta es mi evidencia, entonces es más probable que se cumpla. ¿Ok? So these kinds of predictions are more sure, okay, somehow. And we are also going to use be going to talk about plans or intentions. With will, we use it to talk about instant decisions. El will, si recordáis, lo utilizábamos para cosas instantáneas, que no pienso. Bueno, pues en este caso, no solo las predicciones son más seguras, sino que hablamos de planes o intenciones. Es decir, que ya se me ha pasado por la cabeza intentar planear un poquito lo que voy a decir, a pesar de que no esté del todo planeado. For instance, if I say something like, I am going to study this Saturday, it's still possible that if my friend calls me, I can go out. Es probable que si mi amigo me llame, pues puede que salga, pero al menos he mirado mi agenda para decir, ostras, que es que el lunes tengo examen, que es que voy a estudiar el sábado, ¿vale? Porque no me queda otra o suspendo. So somehow, even though this plan or intention is not extremely fixed, okay, it is somehow something that I have planned or I've somehow thought about it, at least a little bit. Por lo menos me lo he planteado un poquito. Okay, there's certain intention. And finally, we shouldn't forget present continuous, once again with a future value. Be careful with this tense because it does not exist as such in Spanish, but it is widely used in English. Let me explain you how this one works. Great. So if the plan that we have is totally fixed, si el plan que yo tengo es totalmente fijo y por tanto lo voy a realizar al 100% se va a cumplir, utilizaré el present continuous. En la diapositiva anterior hablábamos de que yo voy a estudiar el sábado, no implica 100% que vaya a estudiar. Sin embargo, si yo dijese algo tipo I am studying on Saturday, implica que da igual quién me llame, el plan que me ofrezcan, que 100% estudio ese día. Porque, as you can see there, we are talking about fixed or arranged plans, okay? So somehow it's a stronger and more reliable plan than the one we had with the previous tense. If you remember, the present continuous is going to be built by means of the verb to be, conjugated once again, and then the main verb in its ing form, what is also known as the present participle. This said, here you can see two examples. I am flying to London tomorrow at 12. It's not something that I would translate into Spanish as estoy volando a Londres mañana a las 12. Nunca lo traduciría así de manera literal, sino que preferiría pues decir algo tipo vuelo a Londres mañana o mañana me voy a Londres a las 12, algo así. En este caso, sé que este presente continuo se refiere al futuro por mi adverbio, por el tomorrow, basically. And even though I have a time, that's not a fixed timetable, as it happened with present simple. Cuidado, porque el hecho de que tenga una hora no hace que utilice el presente simple. El presente simple son solo horarios de estos que me ponen en un papelito pegado en una tienda, un papelito en un colegio, yo qué sé, si fuesen las salidas del vuelo, ¿vale? Y en este caso sí que tiene sentido decir the plane leaves at 12, imagine, ¿vale? Pero no una acción que yo estoy realizando, como es en este caso. I am flying to London tomorrow at 12. Es una cosa que yo realizo, no implica que yo siga ningún tipo de horario, simplemente que esa es la hora del vuelo, ya está. If we talk about I am visiting the doctor on Monday, it's something that I'm doing for sure. So I won't be able to go to class, I won't be able to do the exam, imagine that you have an exam on Monday, or whatever, because both are fixed plans. En ambos casos hablamos de planes fijos, que me van a impedir hacer el resto de cosas y que me obligan a... Pues en el caso de Londres, pues irme a Londres 100% implica que ya tengo el vuelo, que tengo el hotel, tal y cual y cual. Y en el caso del médico, pues que es que mira, tengo cita y no la puedo cambiar. Okay, basically. So even though this tense does not really exist in Spanish, it does in English. And it is widely used, okay? Remember, to talk about fixed or arranged plans. How do I know if the plan is fixed or it isn't? ¿Cómo sé si el plan es fijo o no lo es? Es decir, si pertenece al be going to y es un plan o una intención sin más, o pertenece al present continuous y por tanto es un plan fijo. Bueno, normalmente estos dos tiempos se pueden intercambiar y ambos son probables, a no ser que nos aparezca una hora exacta en ese plan, ya que, pues yo que sé, en el caso de Londres, si me aparece una hora exacta, entiendo que pues tengo todo cogido, básicamente porque además es que me voy mañana, quiero decir, si no tengo los tickets, pues tampoco tiene mucha lógica, ¿vale? Entonces ahí sí que sería 100% una manera de decantarme y utilizar el present continuous. Let me summarize everything. So, let me summarize the different ways in which we can express future time. First of all, we were talking about present simple, that is the tense that we use to talk about timetable or scheduled events. Future simple was used in 3 different cases: to talk about predictions based on my crystal ball, to talk about instant decisions, and to talk about promises or offers. Then be going to is used to talk about predictions, but now based on evidences. There's an evidence, so this prediction is much more reliable. And we are also going to use it to talk about plans or intentions. Yet, if these plans or intentions are extremely fixed, are going to happen, then we will use present continuous. That is the one we talk about, fixed plans or arrangements. Now, let me illustrate this by means of an example. Imagine that I am going to get married, and since I love you so much, I'm going to invite you to my wedding. When I give you the card, the wedding card, what you're going to see is something like the wedding starts at 12. La boda empieza a las 12. El horario fijo de la boda, como si hubiese un cartelito que pusiese la boda empieza a esta hora. Okay? Forget about this one because this is the least used in English. Then imagine that I fall in love with John when I'm 12 years old. Well, let me tell you that that's not real love, and even though I think that that's going to be the love of my life, in the majority of the cases it isn't. But since I'm young, okay, I'm quite innocent, I will tell my best friend, imagine something like, I will marry John in the future. Me casaré con John en el futuro. Es muy poco probable que eso pase si tengo 12 años, porque es que la vida da muchas vueltas, entonces es muy poco probable que eso se cumpla. But what happens if I'm older? Okay, and I don't know, John gives me a ring. I could say something like, oh, look at my ring, I am going to marry John. Tengo mi evidencia, tengo mi anillo y me voy a casar con John. ¿Qué pasa? Pues que yo que sé, que me voy a casar con John, pero todavía no tenemos nada planeado. Y es que hasta que no lo tenga planeado, no podré utilizar el present continuous. If I have something like, everything's ready, now yes, okay, I have the church, I have the restaurant, I have all the invitations sent, and so on and so forth. I am getting married the 28th June. Me caso 100%, me caso sí o sí el 28 de junio. So this is somehow a summary of all future time, but let me try to practice a little bit with all of them. As I always say, practice makes perfect. Try to complete this exercise with the most suitable verb, but watch out because sometimes more than one possibility is available. Supposing you've already done the exercise, let's check it together. And the first one is quite simple. We are going to Madrid on Monday. It's true that you could say we are going to go, but it doesn't make sense in the sense that it sounds extremely basic. Suena muy básico decir we are going to go, básico y repetitivo. Por ello, normalmente cuando tenemos el verbo go y nos estamos decantando entre utilizarlo con be going to o con el present continuous, siempre tiramos con el present continuous, ya que tiene mucho más sentido y lo que digo, o sea, no suena tan nivel básico. Then, if we have something like Mark's mother believes that he will be famous, okay, that's his mother's belief. It's not something that it's going to happen for sure, okay? Look at those clouds. In this case, there's an evidence, and even though it could be possible that it doesn't rain, it is going to rain soon in the sense that there's an evidence, okay? Like the one of my ring, imagine. Remember. Something similar happens, well, similar to the second one in number 4 and 5. I hope you will stay after the party, or Rachel thinks you will understand what she means soon. These things are not going to be sure, okay, con will porque tenemos esas pistas. Además hablamos de un futuro lejano, no como nos pasaba en la 1 o como nos pasará en la última, en la 15, que hablamos de un futuro mucho más cercano, on Monday or on Sunday, respectivamente. Sin embargo, en estos casos, pues hablamos de futuros bastante lejanos, ¿ok? I am meeting, or I am going to meet my uncle at the airport. It could be just a plan or a fixed plan if we've already talked about the hour. In this case, they do not specify, so both are possible. But number 7 is a bit restrictive in the sense that everything is ready. So we are having a dinner party. Si todo está listo, 100% tenemos la fiesta. The Browns are moving to the country next month because they have already sold their house in the city. Ya han vendido su casa en la ciudad, entonces entiendo que 100% se van al pueblo, ¿ok? El mes que viene. So we are flying to London tonight. It's a close future also because you must have bought everything in the sense that you're flying tonight. Te vas hoy por la noche, entonces entiendo pues que tienes todo comprado. Do you think your brother will help you? That's what you think, okay? It's not sure, and something similar happens with 11. I don't think it will snow. Great, okay? I mean, I'm not going to trust you somehow. Lily is going to see or is seeing the dentist tomorrow. In this case, both are possible, but let me tell you that it's even better to say is seeing somehow in the sense that it's tomorrow, and usually when we are talking about dates or visits to the doctor, to the dentist, they are previously programmed, okay, like beforehand, and they are usually fixed. So perhaps the second option could be better. We are going to spend a week in Spain, but we haven't booked a hotel yet. Todavía no tenemos el hotel, entonces we are going to spend. It's not a fixed plan yet. Todavía no es fijo al 100%, simplemente pues yo que sé, me he metido en Booking y he bicheado un poquito cómo están los precios de los hoteles en España, for instance. Or, wait, instant decision. I will bring you a glass of water. Okay, so something quite instant. And finally, Timothy is coming or is going to come on Sunday. It depends on whether the plan is 100% sure or it isn't. How do I know it? Well, here it's not sure. Aquí no puedo decir al 100% si el plan es fijo o no lo es. Sin embargo, si me diesen una hora exacta, desde luego que lo sería. Y en este caso no cabría duda que estaríamos hablando de un present continuous. So, well, this is all about it. And finally, let me tell you that after watching this video, you must be able to describe the different ways in which we can express future time in English. In this video, we've been working with present simple, will, be going to, and present continuous. In future videos, I'll finesse with future continuous and future perfect. And apart from all of this, you must be able to distinguish and use properly the different simple tenses or less complex tenses that we've learned and that are used to talk about the future. The previous slide had some practice, but remember that there's always extra practice in the description of the video. And apart from that, as I always say, I'll always be available via email in case you still have some doubts. This said, have a lovely day, enjoy it quite a lot, and see you soon.